This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Habayim. Hope everybody is doing well. We're continuing in Mishna Daf Hashavua. We're learning Siman Gimel. We're up to Seif. Hey, we just learned in Seif Dalid that when one uncovers themselves to defecate, they should only uncover a tefach in the front and 2 tefachim in the back. And a woman, even less, 1 tefach in the back, 1 tefach, and in the front, nothing at all. Sif hey, im nifne b'maka megula. Someone is defecating in an uncovered place, meaning it's just open, out in the open. He's in a field. She'im boi mechitzas, there's no partition. So there's an idea that Shechina b'marav, the divine presence is always in the west. Even though Rabbi say, in the shuls we daven toward the Mizrach, but that's even though we daven toward the Mizrach, nevertheless, that's because we're facing Eretz Yisrael and Yerushalayim. But the concept in general, Shechina b'marav. That's why by Kabbalah Shabbos, when we greet the Shabbos, we turn around to the west of the shul. Because Shechina is b'marav, the Mizrach also has Kedusha because it's keneged the Shechina. And we're going to see that has 2 ramifications. Number 1, in the direction that one defecates, and number 2, the direction one sleeps. Sif hey, you should direct yourself. You should be facing the south with your back toward the north, or the opposite. And the Mishna says, no, not the opposite is not good. So according to some, the opposite is not good, meaning the ideal would be you should be facing the south and your back to the north. So you say, I have to take a compass with me? No, only if somebody is mefane in a Makkah Megula. But other times you don't have to have the compass with you. Avo bein mizrach lemarav aser. But it is prohibited to defecate between east and west. It doesn't matter what direction you're facing. Ulahato mayim, to urinate, b'chol inyan is always mutter. The bizayon, or the derech genai, is only for gedolim, not for ketanim. Says the Mishnah Berura, Megula, avo b'chatzer, but in a courtyard. In other words, let's say you're out in the open. It's not like you're in a makayim mutzna, you're not in a private place, but it's in a courtyard. B'chol inyan shari, kein kasabe says Magen Avram. The opinion of Beis Magen Avram is in a courtyard, you don't have to direct your direction. Aval hataz hiskim mimari abuav. The taz agrees with Mari abuav. The bechatzer gam ken aser emsa chatzer be'mizrach l'marav. If you're smack in the middle of a courtyard, it's going to be a problem between east and west. The haloi megula hu ba'isem makam, because it's uncovered. You're uncovered in that spot. Im lo yishma karbatzah l'tzadech l'meksam, unless you're near one of the walls. V'chein kasu hadrisha v'shar achroinim. Okay, she'ein boi mechitzais. If this is talking about if there are no partitions, avam yesh boi mechitzais. If there are partitions, afilu rak mechitza achas san marav. Even if you only have one partition toward the west, then yeshiv b'tzad mechitza b'samachla. You could sit on the side of the mechitza near it. Dahainu akapan b'sech dalad amis. At least be close enough that you're within dalad amis of the mechitza. Va'achoyrav l'marav klapi ha-mechitza v'nifnei sham, with one's backside toward the mechitza. So even though you're doing it in the direction of the west, nevertheless, there's a mechitza there. V'cheinim ha'koisel b'mizrach. Likewise, if the wall is in the east, yosheh b'samachla v'acharv l'mizrach. You should sit near the wall with your backside toward the east, but v'yesh machmirim b'zeh. Some are machmir in this case, because a person's erva in the front is going to be facing the west, meaning the best thing to do here is to position yourself with the person's back toward the mechitza, with the mechitza in the west, and the person's facing the east. How big does the mechitza have to be? Kasa prima gadim the ein shir legoiva mechitza raka koil she'ein peruai megula al yedei zashari. Doesn't matter. There's no shear as long as the makaim where the tsaya comes out is not seen. So then it's okay. Then now in our bathrooms there's no issue at all. This is only in a is only in a sadeh or in a chatzer. In our Beis HaKisei HaMotzna, that there's no inyan at all of the direction of what direction a person's facing. Oyibcha. So the Mechaber said you could either be panav l'daraim v'acharev l'tzafain, or the opposite. V'yesharm dibchaloi v'tov l'zarbaz. Some say the opposite is not good. In other words, the south has some kedusha, whatever that may be. Usually we say the south is midas hachesed, or we say haroitza lahachgim yadrim. There's a certain chashivas to the daraim. They say urid safain ubayi Siman. Urid safain, you start with the north, mitach shaloi lishma, and then ubayi Teiman, and then you come to the south. So the south has some kedusha. It's considered the yamin. The south is considered the yamin because the person's facing the mizrach, so the daraim is the tzad yamin. So there's an inyan that the south has some kedusha. Fine. Bein mizrach. Why? Mishum hashchina shoyra b'marav. The shchina resides in the west. Va'afilu im machzer panav l'marav aser. Even if you face the west, it's aser. So you say, oh, the Shekhinah is in the west. Okay, so I'll face the west, and the back will be toward the east. No, that's aser. The mizrach shu negen marav yoshle gamken kedusha. The east, which is opposite the west, also has some kedusha. Sivvav. Now, Sivvav is a halacha that I don't think most people think about, but it's halacha in Shulchan Aruch, and Reb Chaim was, it seems, advised people to be zahir in this, especially those who are trying to have zarachai v'kayama. Reb Chaim, this was like a go-to sif in Shulchan Aruch that Reb Chaim would point to. Anyway, this is based on the Gemara Brachos, according to the Pshat of Tosfos, v'chein asar lishoin bein mizrach lamarav imishta imai. It is prohibited to sleep between east and west if your wife is with you. It's asar. Now, ishtoi imai presumably means b'mita achas, and presumably means b'kiruv basar. But the Mechaber doesn't say. Then the Mechaber says, based on the Beis Yosef and the Shita of the Rambam, v'nochin lizar afil k'shein ishtoi imai. You should be careful under all circumstances. It's the right thing to do. So you want to position your bed between north and south. Now the Mechaber doesn't say which direction. It sounds like Shitas HaMechaber is, it doesn't matter really between north and south. Before we had Dafka, you should have the back toward the north facing the east. Here the Mechaber does not, we don't find that. But look in the Mishnah Berura. There's some confusion in the Mishnah Berura, which is probably the reason why people are not Zahir, because there are two deos here, how to interpret the Zahir. The Gemara says, according to Tosfos, that you don't sleep between east and west. However, look in the Mishnah Berura, Rakshi Yechavin Shei Roisha Shamita L'Tzafayin U'Magalois L'Daraim. Mishnah Berura quotes Lechem Chamudais, the head of the bed should be in the north, and the legs of the bed should be in the south. Uvitshuvas Menachem Azariah Pasak Kamosha Kazav Azar Pashma Midbar. The Ramami Pano has a different take on this. He paskins like the Zayar Shei Roisha Umagaloisa Shamita Zel Mizrach Zel Marav. That just the opposite of the Mechaber. That the head of the bed and the feet should be this in the east and that in the west. The Hiskim Sham Shei Roish Lamarav. And Rav Menachem Azariah says the head of the bed should be in the west. And the Malbim concurs with Rav Menachem Azariah. However, the Mishnah Berura is sides with the Mechaber. It is better to accustom oneself like the Shulchan Aruch. Ki b'tshuvas binyan shel simcha, kasa b'shem hagra, sh'amar gam ke shegam kavanas hazayir hu ka'gamara, v'loy kiper sh'Rav Menachem Azariah hanal. That you can interpret the Zayar to be in sync with the Gemara. The Gemara says east-west. The Zayar seems to say north-south. Right? The Gemara says you should not sleep between east and west. Instead, you should sleep between north and south. The Zayar says no, you should sleep. Seems to say you should sleep between east and west. So Rav Menachem Azariah paskins like the Zayar. The Artzos Chaim paskins like the Zayar. Says the says the Mishnah Berura, it is better to cord yourself like the Shulchan Aruch, because the Gemara says that you could even reconcile the Zohar like the Gemara. Now, even if you couldn't reconcile the Zohar like the Gemara, one would think you would follow the Gemara over the Zohar. That's usually the Klal and Psak, you follow the Gemara over the Zohar. But certainly in a situation where the Gemara says that everybody agrees, and the bottom line is, can you tell somebody that they're obligated, they're mechuyev to put their bed between north and south? You can't say that. Mishnah Berura doesn't say that. Mishnah Berura doesn't say that you have to. Mishnah Berura says it's better to. So what should you do? You should always do what's better to do. If you could arrange your bed between north and south, you should try to do that. Now, the Mechaber said, Be'ishta imai, you should not sleep between east and west. And then the Mechaber adds, it's not going to be careful, even kishe'en ishta imai. So says the Malbim, Afilu kishe'en ayin ba'artz ha'chaim, de beze'en lahachar rak b'shochev aroim, uve'en klom savav hamita. The chumrah of positioning your bed in that direction, when your wife is not there, that's only if you're not wearing any clothing, and you don't have any curtains around your bed. In the Sefer Das Noita, he brings the says Reb Chaim Kanievsky, you need to follow the Mishnah Berura. Whatever he says, you put the bed with the head to the north and the feet to the south. And then he brings over here that somebody was in Reb Chaim Kanievsky's house for a bracha for children. He was married for a year and a half, and then his wife had a miscarriage, and he asked Reb Chaim what he should do, and Reb Chaim asked him about his beds, and he says he thinks it's between east and west, and Reb Chaim showed him the Gemara, that mi she'ein mitasam mitzal l'darm ishtar ma'pels nefalim. So the guy went home, and he checked, and sure enough, the beds were east to west. And he can't really... it's very difficult for him to move his beds. Maybe at least he could put it on an angle. And Reb Chaim said, no, put it between north and south like the Mishnah Berura. So again, this is something to take into consideration. Let us see quickly the bottom beer halacha. The Mishnah Berura said that regarding urinating, it does. The Ramah said regarding urinating, it doesn't matter what direction you're facing. But he brings V'das Hagra Del Tzad Marav Asar Gam Hazeh. The Gra says not to urinate toward the west. Mnei Shashchina B'Marav V'u Parei Atzmei Be'is Hatolas Me'Raglayim K'ma Shekazah B'Siv Dalet. Elayate Atzmei L'Tzad Mizrach Oy L'Shat Tzadam. Turn yourself to a different side. Even to the east is okay. Even though we said defecating to the east is a problem, urinating is okay. The minog is to be mekel that there's no issue by meiraglayim. Nowadays that we wear some kind of undergarment and you're not completely uncovering yourself, it's more basis to be lenient. Okay, Rabbi Seif, we'll hold it over here. Bracha v'atzlacha. Have a great day.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.